Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Let's go. Ukraine applies more sanctions on Russia almost every day, hitting the Russian military infrastructure and also oil refineries, oil storages and oil ports. And according to the Bloomberg source, the port Ust-Luga, which is one of the main ports for Russia, temporarily stops its operation for the liquid cargo, so for the oil and gas. Yes, gas is also liquid if you want to transport it by sea. And here on the map you can see all of the spots for the Russian oil infrastructure which Ukraine successfully hit using drones, missiles and so on. That's the article. Oil flow through Russia's Ust-Luga appears to pause after attack. It means that Russia gets less and less money to fuel their military machine. And Ukraine applies the sanctions on the Russian oil almost every night, so last night there was also Kaboom in the Bryansk Oblast. Was it a refinery this time? No, I guess it was the oil storage. And this is the report from the UK government. They shared this photo of the Engels base with the storage of the Russian fuel, mainly jet fuel. But after this photo, which was published on 21st of January, there was one more Ukrainian strike. A massive one, where many more of the tanks were kaputted. And guys, here we are on the ground news. Multiple Russian regions report major Ukrainian drone strikes. It happened yesterday and it is happening right now while I'm filming this video. Kabooms were reported in the Bryansk Oblast. My friends, you may subscribe for this platform using my personal link. It's ground.news/Dennis. You may find it in the video description. As you can see, more than 104 articles report about this case, and all of those you may find actually over here, or you may just click this stuff. And for example, let's check Kyiv Post. Sometimes I work with them. So Lukoil refinery set ablaze by Ukraine. Ukraine launched more than 100 drones that night. Actually, it's more than Russia sends to Ukraine also almost every night. I've told you the last summer that Ukraine has capabilities to reinforce the production of the drones and to produce even more units than Russia, and it seems like it is happening. Guys, I like the ground news a lot. I check it every day. As you probably know, I have different channels. Also, it is aviation channel where I said about this plane crash, and more details you may find on my pilot blog channel. And I've took lots of the information from the ground news as well. For example, here you can see 920 news agencies report about this case, and everything like original information you may find over here. For example, this one, high factuality, biased center, or here low factuality, so it's better to use very high factuality, obviously. And also you have the ownership of the media, so you may check it out before even clicking on it. And on the right you have the general information, so it's the high factuality because it's the fact the crash happened. And also you may check the map where the news were generated from. From Ukraine we have 4 of the news agencies report about the air crash in the United States. Well, in fact more, but those 4 are the main news channels of Ukraine. It's definitely outstanding situation with this crash. I hope investigation will find out the main reason or number of reasons why it happened. And before at least the initial report from the investigation team, I don't want to speculate. Guys, it's my huge recommendation to subscribe for the ground news using my personal link ground.news/Dennis. You may find it in the video description below, and here you have 40% off Vantage plan, which I use for my account. It just gives you all of the possible tools of this platform. And you know, the ground news itself is not a big media corporation. They rely on our subscriptions. Plus, they're also the long-term sponsor of my channel, so if you support them, you also support me. So please check out my personal link in the video description below, again, for the ground news. Ground News, thank you so much for your kind support and for sponsoring this video. But applying the drone sanctions on Russian oil alone will not get Ukraine the victory. For Ukraine, still the crucial factor is the support of the United States of America. Well, so far the steps of the new White House administration were more or less okay towards the military support. It was not halted, and I would say that there is even the perspective for Ukraine to get more weaponry if Ukraine does some certain reforms. Plus, more sanctions could be applied on Russia. It all depends on White House administration, on their mood. Well, if you check out the actual support of Ukraine, actually Europe supported Ukraine more compared to the United States. But if you speak about just military, in Europe help, it's not that much compared to the United States, because most of this help from the United States of America goes for Ukrainian military, not any humanitarian projects and so on. Well, obviously there were such projects and funds, and they were frozen or now being frozen for the next 85 days already. And I personally support this revision, like the funds went to different strange projects of the media, and the part of the media resources gave absolute bullshit, and it appears that they were financed by United States taxpayers. So yeah, it's the good thing to revise that stuff, but still, even humanitarian support should be continued. Like for example, the part of the humanitarian projects went to restore energy of Ukraine after a Russian strike, so it should be extended. I think so personally, and also there should be some of the support of the other countries, like for example African countries. Otherwise, those countries will apply for China's project of the global dictatorship, because China will open their companies, their facilities in Africa, and they really point their nose there. But here we speak about Ukraine, but idea is the same, just for you to understand. The United States support of Ukraine is so important that if it stops, Russia will go and take major cities of Ukraine. Some of the media sources say even about the cities of Kiev and Lviv. May Russia try to get Kiev under control for the second time? It depends on the situation. From my perspective, it is not possible at this time. And since there will be still the military support from the European countries, I guess that Ukraine will be capable to defend the capital city. But the cities like Pokrovsk, Kramatorsk, who knows, maybe even Zaporizhia, will be hard to defend without the help from the United States. For this year, Russia plans to mobilize roughly 260,000 new army personnel. Maybe they will do it not through the massive mobilization as they did in 2022. It is kind of the unpopular step for Putin, but they will continue to pay Russian soldiers millions of rubles. But after all, there are less and less volunteers coming to the Russian army. They have the crisis with the military personnel. And also Russians do have the crisis even in the Kursk region. In their reports, they say about their successful attacks towards Malaya Lochna, but actually it's not like that. Guys, I monitored the situation with those Russian strikes, and all of them so far have been stopped for the last week. They didn't take anything here, and we see it from the latest update. Moreover, Russians are in desperate. Even one of the officers from the Russian Marines complained about the stuff, so here's the video. 177th Regiment of Marines. Well, in this video he confirmed that all of the attacks on Ukrainians in the Kursk region failed. He says that for the last 4 days they even cannot evacuate the wounded personnel from the front lines, from the zero line as they call it, because they're simply in lack of the transport and the capabilities to do so, because Ukraine operates with FPV drones. He also stated that they have huge problems with munition. Reminds me something. Shoigu, Gerasimov, where is munition? Even with bullets, they have the issue. Maximum they have 6-7 magazines per one soldier. He says that they go for assault, it is not enough. But the local commander of his unit simply doesn't care. He sends them to fight again and again. So Russia behaves like that even towards their Marines. And this address of his was towards the Russian General Lapin, who is the commander of the Kursk operation. General Lapin is famous for losing the ground in Izum, in Liman, and for running ahead of his army, calling everyone for attack, calling the Russian soldiers, let's go, let's... So direct command to the forces, go forward. This happened back in 2023, then the Russian Volunteer Corps went to the Bryansk Oblast, and this incompetent fool still remains in command. So whatever this Russian soldier Marine tried to say to Lapin, Lapin will simply do not care. And if you check out the latest update from the Myko Century Analytic, he says that Ukraine advances from Makhnovka quite successfully. There is the small settlement which Ukraine was able to capture. I'm saying capture, not liberate, because after all it's the Russian territory. And it's like the pain in the ass for the Russian army for many months, I guess almost half a year. Russia cannot get rid of the Ukrainian forces in Kursk. And as you saw before, Russian soldiers and Marines, they're not happy about it. Honestly guys, I see the same stuff as it happened in 2023. The Russian army had crisis with ammunition. By the time Prigozhin spoke about tremendous problems in the Russian army, and he also predicted the Kursk assault by Ukraine. Prigozhin also said that Russia will use nukes, but not against Ukraine, but against their own territory. Will it happen? I don't think so. Nevertheless, it shows that the morale of the average Russian soldier is damn low. They're just being motivated with money, nothing more. And in the Russian Z channels I read more and more stuff about the end of the war, that they should negotiate about something. But Putin, he is not willing to negotiate. So yeah, from the front lines, as you can see, we have good news. Ukrainian small but counterattack. And according to the latest information, North Korean soldiers seems to leave the Kursk region because of the heavy losses. From the information I have, the North Korean losses are even more than in the Russian army. And we already know how Russia uses those soldiers on the front lines, like mid-waves, that's it. But before, there was the information that North Korea might send more of the soldiers to fight on the front lines. We'll see how it goes. Maybe this experiment failed for Russia. But there are not just North Koreans fighting for Russia, there are also some of the mercenaries from the countries around the globe, mostly from Africa or Asia. So here you can see Chinese soldiers. And based on what we see, they have pretty much good food supplies. Yummy. But they have losses as well. And this is the usual Russian military cuisine. As you can see, they have even dirty water here. Tasty. Compared to Chinese soldiers, Russians are in lack of everything. And this is how the Russian tea looks like. Yeah, a huge difference. Zakharova, a speaker of the Russian Foreign Affairs. Yeah, Russians, learn Chinese, learn, you'll need it. A classical picture from the front lines, Russian Bukhanka van. By the way, my friends, there are tons of the videos of the Russian assaults, but unfortunately I cannot publish those on this platform, so you have the option to subscribe for my Telegram channel or for my Rumble, because there I also upload the videos from the front lines almost every day, reviewing the particular cases on the battlefield. Like for example, Magyar published the video with a big Russian convoy and how it was ambushed in Kurahovo direction, but I cannot show you this video over here, unfortunately. So below you may find the links where you can watch it. I like those platforms because they have lower censorship, but still this one, I mean YouTube, remains the #1 for me. Yeah, sorry for this inverted video, but they filmed it like that, so North Koreans learn how to ride motorcycles, and actually they advance on those off-road China-made motorcycles on the front lines. Or maybe advanced because this video was filmed several days before. This map is really interesting. Probably you know the country, it's France, just for you to understand the territories which Russia captured. So this big red square they captured in 2022, then Ukraine was really not ready for the full-scale intervention of the Russian armed forces. And mostly Russians captured the southern part and the eastern part of Ukraine. This green square is what Russia captured for 2023. I would say maybe like that, so 1/15 or 1/20 of this big red square. So it's from autumn 2023 till autumn 2024. And this amber square from autumn 2024 till today. And if Russia continues with their present pace, this square could be a little bigger than this one. And Russia says that it's still winning. Yeah, if we speak about those territories, definitely Russia occupied lots of the Ukraine, like 20% at least. But Ukraine is even bigger than France, so Russia will have to waste millions of soldiers to occupy Ukraine fully. That's why at some point they have to stop, and Ukraine has the chance to break the initiative. You know, before I thought that the military solution for Ukraine is not the way out, but probably it is the way out. It all depends on the situation inside the Russian economy and political life. If the Russian oil market struggles, if China somehow will be convinced not to help Russia, and Ukraine will have the opportunity to kick Russians out from its territory. As by the way, Ukraine did before with quite limited military support. So here in Kiev, in Chernigiv, in Sumy, Russians were kicked out before the main military supplies even came to Ukraine. So Ukraine used the Soviet-made weapons for that, and with some of the military supply, Ukraine was able to kick Russians out from Kharkiv region and also from Kherson. And here we say that it is not possible. No, I guess it is possible to kick Russians out. Well, not from those regions entirely, but Ukraine may still hit Russia hard after some time, because I see the crisis in the Russian army with everything, with vehicles, with supplies, as you know, with armament. So Russia just cannot assault for extensive period of time. They may continue this war for many years, but to attack, No. And if there is the military support from our main allies, Ukraine has the chances to kick Russia really hard. This video I've took from the Russian channels, and they say that they're in lack of the equipment to fight against the Ukrainian drones, so they came out with their own ideas, even using Dnieper motorcycles with lots of the Kalashnikov rifles to somehow hit Ukrainian drones. Is it effective? No. So it is the second army in the world. They're in lack of the technologies. It's like the Zerg army. They produce 300 tanks per year. They have just scrap metal left in their Soviet military storages. And how can you fight with that against Ukrainian FPV drones even? It's not possible. This motorcycle with the sidecar is just doomed. And because Russia is in lack of the armored vehicles or BTRs like M113, they built the custom BTRs. They even waste their tanks for those. So this is probably the Russian T-72 even tank, or it is the base of the T-72 tank. And inside here you can see the box for the Russian infantry. And here's the drone protection, some of the logs. And let's go inside. There is some sort of the room tour. So you go in and you just stand in the base. There is no reloading mechanism, nothing, no shells. Crew just standing there and goes to the front line. This is claustrophobic. This is crazy. And this is not made by the Russian Defense Ministry or something. Russians do it themselves. And they think that it will be effective on the front lines. Okay. So the Russian main generals, they still do not understand how deep the problem with the Russian army vehicles really is, or is better to say, the problem with the absence of the Russian army vehicles. Here's just a single example, and there are many of those. Prigozhin, and just a guy looks like Prigozhin. He shared his many thanks for the new boots which volunteers sent to him. I don't know how long would they last, because they do not look like the military boots at all. Oh, Ukraine received the modern tank. It's Leopard 2A6. No, I'm just kidding. It's a decoy. Ukraine constructs those tanks itself. So here you can see the front part, but from the drone, it's really hard to define whether it's real tank or not. This is the turret of the tank. For those, Russia wastes lots of the Lancets. So if you see Leopard 2 was hit by the drone or something, it's not necessarily original Leopard 2. Alright, so after all, Russia has huge problems in Syria. A new Syrian regime asked Russia to apologize for its previous actions, for working for Assad, and also Russia should pay compensation for Syria and return Assad back for prosecution. And that could be the way for Russia to keep their military bases out there, but it seems like Russia will not do it. It would be a political humiliation for Russia, so for Russia it's better to get rid of those bases, to create their base in Libya, for example, but there will be no port, but those Syrian government demands Russia just cannot execute. So yeah, I got some of the Russian bot comments saying that Russia didn't lose in Syria, it was the tactical withdrawal as usual, but no, they lost it. And who would have thought before? So the same stuff, as I say to you, could happen in Ukraine for Russia. We just need to wait for the proper period and for the crisis in Russia to appear. Economy crisis, military crisis, political one. There will be a new Prigozhin, I'm almost sure about it, but for now Ukraine just needs to secure its lands and to defend itself against the Russian aggression, their attacks, because Russia still moves on the front lines ahead. They have the initiative, but their movement is slower than it was a couple of months ago. And yes, we have the new update. So Russia moved in Pokrovsk direction. So yesterday and it is today. They moved in this area. They moved towards Dachne and they've expanded this bridgehead. I want to check about the movement towards Pokrovsk. No, it didn't happen. But they gained some of the territories of the Chasiv Yar. Before it was the gray area and now it's been confirmed red. The gray area moved towards Shevchenko settlement. And we see how Velika Novoselka has fallen, and since that time Russia started to move over here. They want to cut this road for Ukrainian supplies. Actually, Russians are very close to Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, but still they have to take those settlements, like major settlements, together with Pokrovsk to advance further to Dnipro. So we'll see if they will concentrate here in Donetsk region or they will try to go towards Dnipro. but maybe it will happen even the next year. Because with the current Russian pace, the battle for those settlements may continue for a single year, and those, 2 years. Because actually they moved from Avdiivka towards Pokrovsk, so they've took this territory under control more than a year ago, 1 year and a half already. And let's zoom out just for you to check out the scale of this huge country. Are you sure that Russia is capable to occupy Ukraine? I don't think so. But one stupid Romanian politic, Georgescu, thinks like that. Yesterday he told that it's inevitable that Ukraine will just collapse and Romania should take the part of the Ukrainian territory. Well, good luck with that, f***ing pro-Russian prick. You don't say a f*** without your f***ing nose. Romania will be f***ed by Russia and divided if somehow Ukraine loses this war. So Romania should do everything possible to continue the support of Ukraine. And the Romanians, please, get rid of this Don't let this pro-Russian scumbag to take the power in your country. Now, my friends, please don't forget to check out my personal link in the video description just below, where you may find the ground news, the awesome source where you may obtain the information about the events happening around the world, including the updates from Ukraine. My high recommendation. And as usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.